and the box is solid plastic, not cardboard, so can slide that out. And instantly you can see what Huawei is talking about. The presentation on this thing, the packaging, is pretty unique. We can slide the phone out and boom, there it is, the Huawei P8 right there. Now what I can do, I can peel the plastic off, and that's the extent of it. Can power it up. It's an all metal body, 6.4 millimeters. Just felt a small vibrate. We see some Huawei, and I'm going to put that to one side as I further explore the box contents. And I'll leave that in the background so you can see exactly what is going on while it boots up. And you can see as there we go, we've got a new jingle. Top piece of plastic taken off the box, and we have some symbols here. The device itself just booting up with an EMUI, Emotion UI screen, and then we can take it through the setup process. But for now, let's focus on the box contents. You can see you've got instructions here. We can pull that out. Really, really interesting box. This isn't a retail packaging, so there are no instructions. There is no literature. But we hope, we really hope that there is, yeah, this feels heavy, the power, headphones, and the USB. This is what Huawei was making a bit of a song and dance about at the press conference, and I doubt I'm going to get too excited, but you never know. Right, and yeah, it looks pretty regular. That's a power brick, standard power brick. Sure, it looks nice. There's a little wedge here for your thumb to go in, but I'm not going to get crazy excited over a power brick. Now let's take a look at the USB cable. Take the plastic off, and pretty standard USB cable. This leads me to believe maybe one of two things. Either this is exactly what Huawei was talking about in the conference, and this is how premium their new accessories are, or we haven't actually, again, got final retail versions. The headphones, however, do look very, very cool, and it'll be good to test them out. They have two slots right there, so hopefully, like new Nokia headphones, they will have decent sound and decent bass. But who really wants to look at the box contents when you can take a look at the phone itself? We didn't do a hands-on at the event because we wanted to make sure we got you the best coverage possible. So we took this home. We did a hands-on with the P8 Max. So if you haven't seen that already, check out the channel. And we want to just set this up so that we can show you everything about it. But before we do that, we're going to talk you around the design. And you can see on the right-hand side of the phone, power button, volume rocker, and you've got two slots. This is dual SIM or single SIM, comes in two variants, and micro SD expandable as well. If you use both SIM cards, it won't be micro SD expandable, so you make the choice there because one of the slots is a micro SD and SIM card slot. Expandable up to 128 gigabytes. Down at the base is a speaker. I think it's a mono speaker, but it might be stereo speaker gauging by how it looks. We'll get some audio out of there. But one thing Huawei did make a point to labor again was just how loud it is. So we'll definitely be doing a speaker test. One thing that we've become synonymous with. You've also got a micro USB connector. Left hand side, no buttons. You've just got this very, very clean finish, and it does feel very, very clean. 6.4 millimeters thin. It doesn't feel like the thinnest phone in the world, and it is by no means, but it is the thinnest smartphone with an all metal body. Thinner than the iPhones, so that is good going on Huawei's side. Another thing Huawei has managed to avoid is a camera bump. You've got a completely flat back and a completely flat front in its entirety. 13 megapixel camera around the back with optical image stabilization and a dual flash. Now we know what's in the box. We can see how it stacks up against a few other devices, and it is thinner, 6.4 millimeters, like I said, so thinner than the iPhone 6. It is a bigger device though. 5.2 inch display versus 4.7 inches right there. Does have what appears to be a decent screen. Pixel density is still sharper than the iPhone as well, over 400 as opposed to 326 or thereabouts. The iPhone is a beautiful phone, but spec-wise, the Huawei Ascend Huawei P8 definitely competes on many, many levels, including screen to bezel ratio. It is better than the iPhone. We can also bring in an HTC One M9 so that you can see how the two stack up. In 5 inches on the M9 versus 5.2 inches, the M9 is actually a very similar size, but obviously it does have stereo speakers. Now that's one thing I did say I wanted to check out, whether or not it was stereo speakers on here or a mono speaker. Why not play back my hands-on with the P8 Max? Get 3 seconds. It appears to be a mono speaker, so the dual element is just for effect, which is a shame, but never mind. Like I said, Huawei said it will be a very, very loud speaker, so it'll be great to get it into review against the S6 and S6 Edge speaker, along with the M9 and Sony Xperia and iPhone speakers too, so that we can see which is the loudest of them all. Finally, bringing into frame its predecessor, the Ascend P7, and here was probably the most interesting comparison. Reason being, this shows a difference Huawei's taken in terms of design. They've lost this kind of rounded base, so it isn't as well Huawei as we would have thought it to have been. Flagship wise, it looks a lot more generic, kind of reminds me of the Kazam Tornado. This is the thinnest all metal body device. If we take a look at the displays, 5 inches versus 5.2 inches, it does look a lot better than the original Huawei Ascend P7. It feels richer in the hand. The glass back makes the whole thing feel a little bit more hollow than the metal back does, and ultimately, yeah, we're really happy with what Huawei's done design wise. Now, I'm not going to talk you around the UI in too much depth, but there are a few things I am going to touch on, even though this is an unboxing video and I normally wouldn't, and they're just the coolest elements. One of them being knuckle, so I can use my knuckle to draw around an element and it will actually then screen grab that element, which is pretty sweet, and it knows the difference between a finger and a knuckle, as you can see right there. In addition to that, there are a few design highlights on this thing. As you can see on the right hand side, you've got an indented power button. This just feels quite nice. It's like got all the travel of a really decent power button, but it's indented beautifully. We've also got a volume rocker and 2 slots, just like with the P7. One is a SIM card slot, the other is a SIM card slot, but the other also doubles up as a micro SD card slot if you're in the right region for it. It is also available in a single SIM variety. Down at the base, micro USB plus that loudspeaker, mono, as we've learned. It's also got 3.5mm jack. On the flip side, a 13 megapixel camera. Huawei really also laboured the point, this has no protruding camera mount. Dual flash, 1 warm and 1 cool. The camera has optical image stabilization, double as effective optical image stabilization as that found on an iPhone. In addition, it's also got a DSLR grade imaging processor, and the sensor is a first for mobile. It's RGBW, red, green, blue, white, so it has 4 colors as opposed to just 3. So we're looking forward